Good morning and happy Friday for everyone who is out there. I wanted to go over Injective Protocol. It is a blockchain that I was interested in last cycle, and I am still interested and think that it'll do very well. It is specifically built for finance. And the first thing that I usually like to do is go over the TradFi markets that are rather lethargic for this Friday. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is about 0.13% up, and the rest are down. And specifically, the S&P 500 has fallen for this Friday and is heading for its first losing week in 6 weeks. And as you can see, the NASDAQ and the Russell 2000 is down, as well as the VIX, but not by a whole lot. So really, we are in a holding pattern going into the weekend. So probably not going to expect a whole lot going into the rest of Friday afternoon and this week. We did have some big news for today for the broader economy, and the Fed's preferred inflation measure rose 0.2% in April, which was as expected. The personal consumption expenditure price index, excluding food and energy costs, increased by 0.2%. And 2.8% from a year ago. Headline PCE rose 0.3% and 2.7% respectively, in line with estimates. And personal income increased 0.3% on the month, matching the estimate, while spending rose just 0.2%. So in general, this is good news in the sense that this is what the market expected. However, inflation is still high, and we can expect higher for longer when it comes to interest rates and decisions based off the Federal Reserve. Currently, fear and greed is at 73, which is considered greed. And last month we were neutral. That was a pretty rough month for crypto, was around 54. So we didn't stay there very long. And this is just that we're probably going to see momentum on the larger time frames to continue to the upside. Taking a look at the liquidation map, you can see that on Bitcoin, we took a liquidity sweep down to the 67,500 level. It'll be interesting to see how the Bitcoin chart looks, but as of right now, it looks like it was a liquidity sweep. Hopefully we'll get a bounce here off of maybe 67 if we go any lower, and then continue up to the 70K mark. We'll go ahead and take a look at Injective and just kind of see what's going on as far as where the liquidity is. And on the 24-hour, we're right in the middle. We did come down to the 25 level, and there is a lot of support at the $24 level that you'll see on the chart once we take a look at it. But as you can see, there is liquidity down near the $24 mark. And we do have some short liquidity up at the $25.60 mark. So right now, it looks like it's pretty much in consolidation and indecision mode when looking at the liquidation heat map. The one thing that I really do like about Injective is that its distribution has been completely unlocked, and its FDV value is close to 1. They are also looking to launch Injective 3.0, which is supposed to make the blockchain deflationary. I tried to do a cursory look to see what the current inflationary score is, and I didn't find it, and I think it's very low. But again, as you can look here, we have a market cap of about 2.3 billion and a fully diluted value of almost 2.5 billion. So that gives us a 0.94 market cap to FDV value, which is pretty good. That's something that I like to look in a popular cryptocurrency for this cycle. So starting off on the weekly chart, you can see that we have blown past our last cycle high over 100%, which is an incredible sign as far as strength for this coin. However, we did come back all the way down to 57.5% as far as retracement. So This coin does have a high beta, which is high volatility. And I'm going to go ahead and add a Fibonacci chart for this weekly. And we have reached the golden pocket, which historically is a very good place to average in or to buy a position after it retraced. So I think this is the bottom area as long as the market stays healthy. And as you can see, Bitcoin is about 67 and a half on the low side, so 67,320. So we're not doing great. Yesterday wasn't that great of a day as well. However, generally, you want to buy when there is fear in the market and sell when there is greed. So we should have sold up here if you were in Injective. And you can see that there's some major areas of demand and supply that I have on here. And we have a point of control for the weekly, which is way down here at around $8. So that's neither here or there. But the one thing I did want to show you, which is good news, is that we are printing a green dot on the weekly for the market cipher indicator. We are also bottomed out on the stochastic, which is a good sign. And we are still on the downtrend for momentum when it comes to the MACD. But I think looking at the market cipher indicator, I think this is where the bottom is going to be. And you can see that was in confluence with the golden pocket. So there's a couple of indicators showing that we're at the bottom on the weekly. When we take a look at the daily, you can kind of see some of the structures a little better. We did have a bullish pendant back here, which broke out to the upside with a impulse of 135%. So that was excellent. So you can see how these patterns can work when they are in conjunction with their trend, meaning if it's a bullish pattern, the likelihood that it'll play out is better when we're in an uptrend. And if we have a bearish pattern, it has more of a likelihood to play out in a downtrend, and vice versa. If that was a negative pattern or a bearish pattern, it's less likely to play out in an uptrend. So that's just something to be aware of. Taking a look at our momentum oscillators, you can see that we've been kind of weak as far as momentum to the upside and downside, and generally it has been to the downside with the money flow, and that has reflected in price. You can see recently we've had momentum to the downside, and we've had some consolidation at a key area of support, again with a demand zone, a localized point of control, and with the golden pocket on the weekly. So as you can see, this has been generally to the downtrend, as you can see this with this parallel channel, but it hasn't been severely dropping. So those are all signs that we may be at the bottom of the market when it comes to Injective. And you can see MACD is potentially going to diverge here. But the one thing I want to tell you when it comes to MACD is that it's an indicator that needs to be used in conjunction with other indicators and not used alone. Although I do know successful traders that have modified it and have made exponential gains in the TradFi market. So it's something that we probably should take a better look at. But as you can see, we've had some areas where it looked like it was going to diverge and it faked out. Looked like it was going to diverge, faked out. Potentially we'll see what happens here. It may give us another fake out, and we may continue to the upside if we can get some momentum in the broader crypto market, and that'll be in conjunction most likely with the NASDAQ when it comes to TradFi. So that's just something to consider. And when we take a look at the price action over the spring, we did peak out at about $53, and that was back on the 14th of March, and it's been in a downtrend ever since, indicated by the parallel channels. And we changed direction to a lesser degree, but still in a downtrend. As you can see, there was a falling wedge inside of this downward parallel channel. we broke out, and then we hit resistance on the parallel channels. This is a good example of how these support and resistance zones are so important. So we rejected from this upper parallel channel. We came down and hit this point of control as resistance, bounced, and failed. And this was yesterday. And we had broader weakness in the market. And we came down a good ways, which is about an 8.5% move. So that was very significant. So not a very good day. But as you can see, we had an uptrend. We broke through it. Again, bounced off that point of control, rejected off of this uptrend as resistance. And then finally it failed. And now we're in a downtrend as of today on the daily. And we're going to go ahead and put a fib chart here. And as you can see, we came down to the normal retracement zones, which is between 0.382 and 0.5. Came close to the 0.618, the golden pocket. And then we proceeded to continue up and then failed at the 0.236. So that's where we are currently. And we are in this shaded blue area, which is significant, a significant demand zone. So that is for the daily. As far as price action going into the future, we're probably going to consolidate in this point of control area before we can get momentum back to the upside. And that's really dependent on the news FOMC meetings, which we don't have one coming up next week. But the numbers are going to be very important because the broader market is taking cues off the Federal Reserve and hoping that they will reduce interest rates, which is really counterintuitive to a strong economy, because if they have to cut interest rates, that means there's weakness in the economy, that markets and individuals can't afford the interest rates on loans. And you need loans and debt to grow the economy. So that's where we are for the daily. And coming down to the 4-hour, yesterday I was looking at some patterns, as you can see here. And what I saw, well, initially we had a pattern that was identified as a inverse head and shoulders, which you can't see here right now. And eventually that pattern turned into a inverse Adam and Eve. However, I did not see that at first. What first grabbed my attention was this inverse cup and handle. Now, it's not easily seen here on the 4-hour, but what I wanted to show you was that this actually ended up being an inverse Adam and Eve, and I can actually adjust this better. And either way, it doesn't really matter because it was a negative pattern. So as soon as I saw the cup and handle started to form on this candle right here, I realized that we were at risk to come down to 25, which we did. We came down as low as $24.61, but still within the parallel channel. And now we have formed a triple bottom, which is a good sign. However, if we continue to repeatedly test this area, we could drop a little lower. I don't expect a whole lot lower. I expect it to be at the very minimum, or the very most rather, it's going to be within this zone here. And it's probably going to be a wick, if anything. But the good news is we have printed a 9 on the trend reversal indicator, which is a good sign that hopefully we can start to rise throughout the weekend, or at least consolidate within this zone. Finally, taking a look at the 1-hour, you can see that the lagging span is free and clear to the downside, which is negative. We are well below the Ichimoku cloud, and the baseline is above the conversion line. So these are all bearish signs, and we're in a downtrend indicated by this blue trend line. But we are beginning to consolidate. So I don't expect a whole lot this Friday unless we have some sort of catalyst for the upside. So I'm expecting really consolidation until we can potentially push up back into this cloud make it support, and then get above the support and control. So there's a lot of work that Injective needs to do on its own, separate from the broader market, as far as resistance zones to the upside. So I'm expecting a lot of indecision and consolidation until that occurs. That is my analysis of Injective for today. I'll take another look at it tomorrow and we'll keep tabs on it. Looking to add to my position for the eventual breakout to the upside. And there's a lot of indications that Bitcoin will eventually do that. We'll probably have an increase in Bitcoin dominance. We will probably have an increase in Bitcoin dominance when that does occur. So I expect a lot of alts will stay around the zones that they are right now, maybe slightly increase, or the ones that actually have catalysts or good news will increase. But the rest will consolidate until Bitcoin eventually calms down after it breaks out. I hope you have a great day, and if you have any questions or concerns or want me to take a look at something, please let me know, and I'll see you in my next video. All right, thanks. Bye.